Hey everybody, how cool would it be if you could walk out to your car with a key fob, press a button, make the lights go on? But what if we put that on our airplane? Stay tuned. All right everybody, take a little shot here of the setup for the mod I was talking about. The idea came from Mr. Andrew Kilroy. If you see his 14 build online, he has something called the Pimp Lights, a couple LED lights. Thought that was a great idea, especially at night. I mean, the purpose really is to keep people from walking up and stubbing their leg on your step or banging into your trailing edge flap. I added a third for the tail, and that's what I was showing earlier, or depending on where this ends up in the video, or I will show you in a little bit. But what I've done here is I mocked up the 3 LED lights. It's just these small LEDs right here. They weigh next to nothing. And I'll weigh this whole setup when we're done here. And use one of these eMilo wireless RF control switches. It's a remote switch. And then it has this little key fob. It actually came with 2 of them. So what you do is you have this wired in, and I got this set up, and we can tweak it in here a little bit. 12 volts. And 0.006 amps. It's got a little LED on it that shows that it's working. It's not much draw. It's pretty benign. I don't think that's going to hurt much. However, when I do put it in the airplane, I'm going to wire it into a switch that will turn it off completely if it's going to be a long time before I use the airplane or what have you. So I could flip it on when I'm going to be doing anything at night, and it'll be available to use. And then what I'll do, get this little key fob here, we'll just hit the switch and boom, on comes these LED lights, and they're pretty bright. They put out quite a bit of light. I think they'll be plenty good at night, but look at this. Even with all 3 of them illuminated, we're only pulling a 0.3 amps, just a little over 0.3 amps at 3.7 watts. So it's really not much power being taken. The wires are super small. The whole system is super light. And I think it's going to be a very cool little addition to the airplane. Something you don't see every day. I thank Andrew for the idea. And this thing here is pretty darn small. I would say it's about, if it's 2 inches by 1.5 inches, I'd be surprised. So it's really small, really light. So let me get a weight on it here in just a second. All right guys, here's another look at the weight. 126 grams. I just threw a random coil of wire up there that is going to be way more than you probably need to actually do the install. So that's the whole setup, including the mock-up wires that I had. I think you'll definitely come in under 126 grams for this entire mod. Put a switch in there. It might add another 15 or 20. It's pretty, the plastic switch I'm using is pretty light. Anyway, that's what I got going, and I'll show you how it turns out. All right, everybody, here's our first mod for the airplane. This is on the tail skin, aft bottom skin. There's a systems hole here that they want you to plug with a rivet. It's actually turned out to be a good spot because I want to have one back by the tie down. So I'll have 3 pimp lights, 1 on each side for the step and 1 at the tie down. So what we've done already here is opened up this hole, the systems hole. And what that does, it allows me to put this light. This is just a one I use for sizing. They come in a 10-pack. I only need 3. So this is a simple little LED light. Takes like 0.02 amps. And it slides right in that hole there. Sits nice and flat. We'll Pro Seal that in. And on the other side, it'll sit in there right next to the rib. Fairly small screw goes over the top. I'll probably build up a little washer just to help spread the load for the Pro Seal, not because it needs more strength. This is a pretty thick piece of aluminum, so there's no doubler or anything. These things are super light, they weigh nothing. And they have hardly any draw. But they illuminate pretty good. So that's the first mod. And we'll have it right here on our... Hello everybody. Well, we got this Pimp Light for the tail, Pro Sealed in, got some contacts on it. If anybody cares about the wiring, what I did with this, try to zoom in here a little bit. So we just labeled, this is Pimp Light tail, plus and minus. I put some high density pins on them just because I like to use those better. And instead of using a connector, what we'll do is we'll take and put some high density pins on the other end. And I'll show you that to match, and we'll just heat shrink over those. If I need to get into them for some reason, I can always cut the heat shrink and slide those apart. This is what it looks like Pro Sealed in. Got a nice clean Pro Seal job. Feel like I'm almost ready to do a fuel tank. It's getting better. I put a little bit around the nut here just so nothing gets loose. I did build up a little washer, if you can kind of see that in there, to give me room to rivet. But it's a kind of a triangle-ish shaped washer in there just to raise it up a little bit and give it a little bit of pressure down, better than I felt like that screw would do by itself. I think got it primed and ready to go. Let's take a walk over here by the fuselage. I'll show you, these are the wires we got at the other end. So again, got plus and minus for the tail, and it'll be ready to just throw a piece of heat shrink over each one of these, and then maybe one over the whole thing when we're all done. One thing I added, you see here on this bulkhead, so I added this little flange here, and that's gonna be a place where I can anchor the wire harness for the Pimp Light, which will sit down there in that little square notch. And then I'll just zip tie the wire bundle to this simple little flange that got riveted on here. Hey everybody. All right, this is my first YouTube video ever. If it works out, maybe I'll try to do some more. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, like, subscribe. I'll try to put out some more. I definitely am gonna have some photographs as we go along the build. I don't really like seeing myself on film. I don't really like talking on the camera, but some of these things that are more interesting, maybe it helps somebody, maybe it doesn't. But if you like it, leave me a comment. Merry Christmas, everyone.